Good afternoon. Don Maxwell here from Live IT Academy. We've been covering a series of Excel lessons on creating a worksheet or a report. And today's lesson is changing alignments number formats. All right, so generally what happens, you have a spreadsheet with data in it, and whether you're creating it from scratch or you have just want to enhance your worksheet, you have to be able to format the spreadsheet. Number one, if we have numbers in our spreadsheet, we don't know what those numbers represent. So we have to state what they represent by using labels, right? And then labels have to be organized and formatted so that the user can further understand what the report is saying, right? Generally, we have a title, we have labels, and we have numbers. And again, labels are aligned to the left, numbers are aligned to the right. So we'll be able to align and format numbers so that it has meaning to the user. For example, if we have monetary numbers, right, we have to represent it with currency symbol and so on. Okay, all right, so today we're going to be focusing on this regional shoe sales, and we have various types of shoes that's being sold across different regions, and we have some total here that represent each one of the shoe types and that's sold in each region. Okay, and one of the things that we must do when we first approach the spreadsheet is to determine how do you want the spreadsheet to look, right? How do you want to represent it to your customer, right? So the first thing we want to do is highlight the range of numbers, and that's what I'm going to do. Go ahead, highlight the range of numbers. That's B5 to what? B5 to F9, right? So there goes my range. I can use my mouse to highlight the range, or I could simply type the range B5 to F9 in the name box, right? Either way, right? If I go to the name box and type B5 colon F9, or I take my mouse, the ready pointer, and select the range of numbers that I need to work on. All right, so this set of numbers represents some currency, right? So part of my command to do that is to go to Home, Numbers, and I have the currency symbol here, right? Of course, the currency symbol here will represent what's selected, English, but what's selected here. Because, for example, you may have accounting currency, or you may have just currency. What's the difference? Well, in accounting currency, the accounting currency is still the dollar sign, but it's represented in a different format. As you can see the spacing, if I should increase or decrease my cell, you see the dollar sign is aligned to the left, right? So that's in accounting. Also, if I had zero values in my report, I would represent by dash. So those are specific accounting formats, right? The other format is to use currency, and that is just represent with the dollar sign, and that dollar sign would actually stay, right, aligned with the number. See that? Doesn't move, stay aligned with the number. All right, so today we're going to be using the accounting currency, of course, so we're going to be able to align it that way. Note, the other thing is, now I have my accounting currency, I have to determine, do I want decimal places or not? So I'm going to select my east to south, another range, so that's B5 through E9, and I'm going to say I don't want decimal places, so I'm going to decrease my decimal places. So I'm going to use a decrease, and I'm going to click on that twice. Why? Because it has 2 decimal places, right? So what I've done is I've removed the decimal places from these numbers, but I've left the decimal places on my final total, right? So this is speaking to the format, right? Now I know these numbers actually represent some monetary numbers, right? Before they had no types of format. And I know my total represent monetary with 2 decimal places, right? And I know these numbers represent just integer numbers, right? No decimal places. All right, so the other thing that I want to do to my report is here is the title. So I can highlight that range in row 4. I'm going to highlight the range, my title, just my title. So that's like B4 through F4. And a couple of things I can do with those titles. Because they're title, I'm going to center them. So I'm going to go to Home, Alignment, and I'm going to use the center button. See the center button? I'm going to use that to center the titles, the header labels, right? Because these represent these numbers in these regions, right? Then I'm going to say I want that to be bold, so I'm going to Home, Font, I'm going to bold them, right? And typically, you know, they can be a higher font than the current font, right? So I'm going to make them outstanding, their title, so I'm going to make it 12, right? Why? Because my numbers are 11, right? So I'm just making it 1 point greater, right? Okay, so that's part of trying to make the labels stand out a bit, right? Now, the other thing that I could do is, what if I wanted to add a date to my report? And I want to add a whole date to the release date for each of these items. I could go in and insert a column. Now, when I insert a column, it inserts to the left, right? So I'm going to press on the B column, and notice I'm pressing on B, right? I'm not in the spreadsheet anywhere. I'm deliberately deciding that I'm going to be putting a column between B, column A and B, right? So a column just after sneakers for my date. So the next thing I want to do is go to Home, Cells, and go to Insert. And here I'm inserting a column. So there goes my column, right? After insert my column, I want to put a release date. In that field. And now the other thing I can do is further format this release date, right? Maybe I want it to be wrapped. And what does wrap mean? Wrap text. All right, I'm going to leave the wrap text on. I'll demonstrate what that means. And I'm going to center my text like I center the rest of the labels, right? And I'm going to apply the bold, right? Because to get them in sync. Now, what does wrap mean? Right? If I should expand or I should contract my column, you'll see that the data will wrap, right? So right now I need to open up the row a little bit so I can see that it's wrapped. So I'm going to put my cursor on the crosshairs of 4. Notice I'm doing it below, not above. I'm doing it below, and I'm going to double click. Right? Remember what that does, right? So it simply opens up the cell to the content. So that's what's happening here. So my release date now is wrapped, right? So the cool thing with wrap is if you expand, it will expand with it, but if you contract the cell, it will wrap, right? So remember, this is a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. So the way you format these reports, if you go to print it, is exactly how it's going to look at on the printer. All right, so the next thing I want to do is enter a release date. So I'm going to here say this is June 1st, 2017, just for a date, and press enter. Now, notice if I press enter, my active cell will advance ones, right? But also note what happened to my date. Remember the way I entered it is not the way it's sitting in the cell right now. Why is that? Well, by default, Excel will go by however or whatever the default is that you choose. So where do we pick default? Well, we can go to the number dialog box. We click on the dialog box, and you'll see in the number category, if I go to date category, the date that was chosen was this one, right? And that's why it came out that way. Now, I can change that if I want. I can change it here if I want, right? Because again, I have different date formats, so I can change it here if I want it to be that short format date. Or I could quickly go to numbers and go to the numbers list, right? And I could say I want it to be a short date, right? What if I want it to be a short date, right? Of course, if you want it to be a long date, you can also format it for long dates, right? Now, whenever you see those number signs or pound signs within the number signs within the cell, it simply means that the cell is not wide enough to show the content. So you can go to the crosshairs, double click, and it will open it up to show you what it is. All right. So we're going to be using short date here. So I'm going to go back into home numbers, the number list, and I'm going to pick the short date. All right. And I'm going to also adjust the cell so that the headers are wrapped and the short date is in there. Now, if I want to just copy this date to the other shoe date, let's say all the release dates are the same. So I can go to copy, I can go to my copy command, right? And I'm copying, notice the animation around, and I'm going to place the copy information in these cells, right? So I'm going to paste, right? So I just copy it and paste the B5 into B6 to B9, right? So it's just simply copy and paste. It's the same date, right? Notice I didn't use a fill handle because the fill handle will fill patterns. What will happen is the date will increase as I go on, but I want to copy the exact same date. So that's exactly what I did. Okay, so the next thing I want to do with my report is to maybe format the header, right? The title, format the title. And I'm going to format the title so it matches my report. So I want to center and merge my title over my report. So I'm going to select the range, right? And notice I select the range off the report. Notice the report is as long as A1 through G1, right? That's the length. So I'm going to use that as my title, my space for my title. So there's a command called merge and center, merge and center. So I can merge and center. Also, in merge and center, notice there's a down arrow. So you can merge and center, merge across, merge cells together, right? Or you can do the on merge. If you can go back and do the on merge, right? Or if we say merge cells or just merge cross or merge and center, right? Right, so you'll see the difference. If you merge and center, the text will be centered, right? If you just simply merge, it will merge the cell, but the text will remain aligned to the left. Now, you have learned a few of the alignment tools here, right? So what are the other alignment tools? We have left align, center, and we have justify, and we have right align as well. And if you look at the top, we have other alignment tools. If we want the text to be at the top, let me just make the box bigger so you can see what's happening, right? Notice the text goes to the top, right? And it's a toggle switch back and forth. And what about the middle? If you just wanted to go to the middle, right? Right, and we talked about the justify, right? So justify means it's spaced out to meet the margins, right? So top, middle, right, or bottom middle, right, or center, left or right. So you could play with these alignment buttons. You can move around your text to align to the numbers that are in there. Now, notice that my title, I center and merge, so it's centered to that. And I notice I also center and bold my header labels, right? Because they represent what the data is, what the numbers are. All right. So there are other features that allow you to do things like, all right, I'm going to select B6 through F, and I'm going to show you that there's an orientation type button that allows you to change the orientation of the text. See how north, south, west, see how they go up, right? So I can go vertical, right? I can even rotate downwards or format. I can go clockwise, right? Or I can go up. I could angle, my data any which way I want. So that orientation tool allows me to play with the text or numbers by rotating them in the cell, right? All right, so you learned what wrap text meant. We did wrap text over here. We wrapped the release date. We had more than one word, and we were able to wrap it so that one is on top of the other, right? You learned what merge and center is, and we talked about having different types of merge cells, merge across, and also you can unmerge if you want to unmerge, right? So we've learned how we can insert a column. We said if you're going to insert a column, you click on the right column and then go to the insert command, and there you go, insert, right? Insert column, right? And what you do for columns, you can do for row as well. Okay, so you can see how you can shape up your report. Also, in shaping up your report, if you wanted to play with the font sizes, right? You could change the font sizes, make that 12, right? Make it a little bigger. So I made these font sizes 12, right? So you have learned a few things about alignment and number formatting, right? Remember the number formatting, we use the dollar, we use the decimal places, we use the comma style, right? Because comma style tells us that there's a comma in the hundreds place, right? So that's when you see the comma style, you see the comma in the number. So that's the comma style, that's the dollar sign, right? And we said we can have accounting or currency, and we have increased decimal, right? Or we have decreased decimal, right? So we can use the number group or the alignment group or the font group, copy paste, or the cell group to help us to shape and format our report so it's presentable to others. Okay? Great job, guys. Continue practicing and move forward in learning other lessons in our program. Have a wonderful afternoon.